All right, let's cross now to Annabel Symington, she is a spokesperson for the World Food Program in Yemen. She joins us now live from London. Annabel, good to have you on the show. This announcement couldn't have come at a more unfortunate time, right? Because the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, had said that cutting aid to Yemen would essentially be a death sentence. And this is exactly what it's looking like.
Yeah, absolutely. The situation in Yemen right now is absolutely critical, and we are seeing hunger rise um, just day after day. The number of people facing inadequate food consumption this year has risen from about 1 in 3 at the start of the year to over half of all families today. And that's really been driven by rapidly rising food prices, as well as the conflict, which continues to displace more and more people. So these cuts are going to be absolutely tragic for the families who are dependent on food assistance to survive.
In March, about 9 months ago, over 100 governments and donors had hoped to raise about $3.5 or more than $3.5 billion to help the country. The reality is that only under half of that was actually pledged. Why do you think the world is not showing up the way that it needs to when it comes to what's being called as the world's worst humanitarian crisis?
Well, unfortunately, right now there are so many competing crises around the world, and hunger is rising around the world. So aid budgets are simply stretched to the limit. But if we look at what's happened in Yemen this year, for the World Food Programme, we actually received around 75% of what we needed this year. And as a result of that, we were able to scale up in some areas. And with that, we helped stabilize to some extent the hunger situation. But now we're going to have to cut, and we will see a rapid decline. Families in Yemen who have been living in conflict for 7 years now, they can't cope with this kind of stop and start. We need to be consistently supporting them with food assistance, and then ultimately pushing Yemen into a position of peace, and there needs to be action to stabilize the economy so that food actually becomes more accessible and more affordable for people.
How does your organization actually help with this consistency in terms of not letting more people slide into a state of where they're living in an atmosphere of food insecurity?
So the way WFP works is that we provide both emergency food rations, that's a monthly food ration to the most food insecure families, as well as running nutrition support for children and mothers. And on top of that, school feeding programs in schools to both keep kids in school as well as providing them with some vital nutrition. The food assistance programs are the ones that are going to unfortunately be cut right now. Now, that's the bulk of our assistance. So that's 13 million people who receive food assistance. We are cutting to 8 million people, so they're going to receive around half a food ration, and we're having to do that in order to protect the remaining 5 million who are considered the most food insecure. So really the situation we're in is that we are having to reduce for the hungry in order to feed the hungriest.
All right, Annabel Symington, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. Appreciate it.